How's it going? It's Daniel with Cuervo ATV. Today we're looking at a simple rebuild I'm working on. Um, this particular engine was rebuilt by a shop and was not done thoroughly, not properly cleaned, so the engine failed uh, not too long after and had several issues on assembly and whatnot. But the main thing was that they didn't clean everything. So um, the previous engine had a piston and cylinder fail due to, I believe it was detonation for the original engine. And then they put a crankshaft in it and put a piston and cylinder on a cheap rebuild at that other shop, and well, here it sits getting another rebuild. And so basically, it wiped out the crankshaft rod again. And basically, what happened was none of the engine stuff was disassembled and cleaned, so it had a lot of metal hiding in it, and that was evident by what we found. But what gets missed what gets missed or overlooked most of the time is bearings. So if you have any hard metal failures, if you have a rod bearing go bad, or if you break a gear, unless you break a gear and it's just one tooth that's broken off and you stop and repair that right away, then all of the ball bearings need to be replaced, because you'll get that hard metal fragment through those balls in the bearings throughout the engine. Everything's intertwined with the same oil, and just a little bit of hard fragment going through the roller bearings will wipe out those bearings, and you'll end up with another complete engine failure right away. So to shortcut that is a huge mistake. But put a full set of engine bearings in it, flush out and thoroughly the clean the engine. So I see a lot of pictures online, guys doing rebuilds, and the engine itself, the externals of it, is not clean. It's like, how do you do a proper job rebuilding that engine if you didn't even bother to wash it? And I'm not talking about like, okay, getting some mud staining or something off, but the whole engine case should be thoroughly cleaned, washed, and blown out. So something else that is missed quite often is the rear counterweight is hollow, and it does need to be flushed out. A lot of metal will come out of that. The transmission shafts is another one I see that's very common. Is oil feeds through holes in these shafts, so these are hollow as well. There's a feed hole on the back. Those need to be flushed out. I like to use starter fluid, helps break down any oil and then blow them out. And same with the main shaft, feeds through, oiling holes all the way through. You got to spend a decent amount of time cleaning those out to get everything out of them. But where that really shows up is in the different bushings. Same with the reverse idler shaft. And I'll pull these transmissions apart, and they will just be stuffed with metal debris inside of the bushings. So normally it doesn't wipe out the actual gear itself, but the bushing's a little softer. Here's a good example. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, not today. Auto stabilization on the can see a little bit of drag from that oiling hole across. That's hard debris that went through there. So going through, flushing all that stuff, the number one thing, I've touched on it before, is the oil tank always gets missed. Pulling that apart, completely flushing it, cleaning the screen in there. And then the last thing is the pickup. Normally you can clean these out. They have a screen. You need to flush them out quite a bit. Just blowing some air through it isn't good enough. You need to put parts cleaner, starter fluids, something through there to break down and loosen any of that metal. But if they're packed with metal, you just replace that part. It's like $30. So put a new pickup strainer on there and be good to go. So that way you don't end up at the same spot as you were a year down the road. Something else I don't see a lot of guys doing or talking about is oil pump. If you have a mechanical failure inside the engine, that oil pump is going to be trashed. You can look at it and say, oh, it's fine. Well, it's not going to pump enough. It has scoring on it. It's going to be internally bypassing, and the best thing to do is just replace it. You're not going to repair it or smooth it out or fix anything by taking it apart. You can look in there with a flashlight and see if you see any grooving, but pretty much everyone I pull apart that's had any type of mechanical engine damage, even if you're like, oh, I broke the gear and I shut it off right away. Well, that pump is already bad. It already pulled enough small metal fragment through it to warrant replacing it. So just an overview on what all needs to be done on rebuilds. So last thing on that, if you go to do an upgrade or put a crank in on an engine that didn't fail, if you pull apart the engine and there is no gritty debris or sludge in the bottom of the engine, like normally you can reuse the engine bearings. Flush them out, check them, make sure they're smooth. Engines over, where are we going on? 2006. Like anything over 8 years, I normally put a new oil pump in, because I kind of give them like a 10-year lifespan of normal use until we see a lot of enough wear in them to want to replace them. But if it's already 6, 7, 8 years old, like, you should probably go ahead and do that, because most likely nobody's going to change that anytime soon after that. So that is it for today. Shoot in the comments what you would like to see videos on, and I will try to get that done. We've kind of gone through a lot of list of stuff that we've already talked about and covered, and there's some videos I need to go back and maybe do over or add some additional information to, as we're always learning as well. So that is it for today. We will talk to you soon.